have been many changes to how the Bronx Housing Court works since the end of the pandemic. Most of the clerk's operations have moved to room 230, where tenants can file orders to show cause, HP actions, or access an interpreter. Additionally, virtual meetings for the right to counsel intake hearings take place in room 230. The clerk's windows on the first floor are primarily used for answering petitions. Tenants who need assistance from HCA's information table with orders to show cause and other more complicated forms have to come downstairs to find us. The biggest way that the Bronx Housing Court differs is that the first court date is virtual, but some tenants are anxious about the format because their own internet or phone service is unreliable. They may be afraid of a technological glitch, which will cause a default. Even more problematic for Bronx tenants is the effect of the virtual intake day on their access for representation. While tenants in other boroughs get screened and referred for right to counsel on the same day, Bronx tenants are told someone will call you, and they frequently come to the table or call the hotline because they haven't received a call from the legal service provider. Average incomes tend to be lower in the Bronx, so Bronx tenants are more likely to be eligible for right to counsel, but they also have the most difficulty in gaining real access to this program.
Most Queens tenants are still unrepresented, and the majority of unrepresented tenants who come to the table are in no grounds holdover cases. We suggest they ask for representation at their first court date, but often people don't come to us until it's too late. The Queens table saw a significant number of tenants who had applied for ERAP during the pandemic, but their landlord refused to submit the documents because they didn't like ERAP's requirement that they continue to rent to the tenant for another 12 months. As the ERAP program has been issuing decisions on its last applications, we have seen many old cases getting recalendared post-ERAP, but also a significant number of old cases recalendared simply because the tenant never got the case discontinued in the past. In these cases, a tenant might believe that this is a new case, with a new opportunity to seek counsel, only to discover on returning to the courthouse that it is an old case and their opportunity to seek counsel had come and gone with their first court date. Like the tenants everywhere, Queens tenants and non-payments often have high arrears. A significant number of tenants who come to the table do not have the necessary immigration status, citizen or green card holder to get government arrears assistance to save their home.
Brooklyn eviction cases currently have the longest wait time between when a tenant answers and the first court date. It can take 4 months before the hearing. This can be a relief for tenants who are able to use that time to seek arrears assistance or look for alternative housing, but tenants also get frustrated when they learn they won't be able to talk to a lawyer during this wait time. As in the other courthouses, Brooklyn has a drastic need for lawyers to advise and represent tenants. Brooklyn is seeing an increase in evictions, and tenants find it hard to get legal representation. There is a noticeable and worrisome trend of Brooklyn tenants only discovering they have an eviction case when the marshal's notice arrives. Tenants in these cases who badly need representation are often deprived of their opportunity to get screened for a lawyer. Brooklyn has been the testing ground for some programs that are helping. The Court Navigator program is simple. A volunteer talks to people waiting in line to get into the clerk's office, but it helps to reduce the chances that a tenant defaults simply because they were waiting in line, waiting to find out where their courtroom is, instead of actually being in the courtroom. Brooklyn also hosts a special right to counsel intake pilot program. Tenants, after they appear for the first time in a courtroom, are directed to another room where they get screened for right to counsel, and then HRA helps them to start a one-shot deal application if they're interested. While this helps many tenants who need an early start on applying for rental arrears help, it also means that they have not yet spoken to an attorney about the landlord's arrears claims or other defenses that might mean they don't owe all of the back rent. Lastly, the Eviction Diversion Initiative, a project of the Center for Court Innovation, provides extra support for tenants in subsidized housing in non-payment cases from an office on the second floor. They provide important help to people with recertification issues with NYCHA, Section 8, and other voucher or subsidy programs.
The Manhattan table reopened in December of 2022, and there are a lot of new changes to report since it closed for the pandemic. The HCA table has moved to the area right next to the clerk's entrance, so we are more accessible and easier to find. We are able to assist people to make sure they are in the right line, which means they are less likely to spend time in the wrong line or make a mistake. Additionally, ADA staff is now more accessible to people with disabilities in the clerk's office. The Manhattan table gets a significant number of visitors for illegal lockouts, roommate holdovers, and increasing number of tenants doing post-evict order to show cause. The table and hotline interactions show that rent-stabilized tenants in Manhattan are especially susceptible to holdover cases, which ordinarily should be rare since a rent-stabilized tenant has the right to a renewal lease. On the other hand, more people are coming to the table to get help with papers to sue their landlord for repairs and harassment than before.
Our hotline staff has grown since our last conference. We continue to keep roughly the same hours as the courthouses. We are open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. We continue to have a dedicated line for Spanish speakers, and we are also using language line and interpretation services so that we can assist New Yorkers who speak many other different languages. Many of our callers who are reaching out to us are in need of financial rental assistance, are afraid of losing their homes, and are in need of legal representation now more than ever. The pandemic continues to affect the lives of tenants, financial lives, housing security, and the experience they have in housing court. The earlier part of our year, we received many calls regarding pending ERAP applications or cases that were being recalendared after the stay. Many tenants did receive assistance through ERAP, and some of those who were receiving assistance and approved were having issues with their landlords accepting the funds.
Since the onset of the pandemic in 2020, HCA has been adapting and innovating to better serve the needs of the housing community and transforming our approach to community education. One of the most significant shifts has been the transition of our workshop to virtual platforms. While there are disadvantages to this virtual space, for HCA, this change has had a far-reaching impact, enabling us to connect with individuals from all corners of New York City who previously might have been unable to attend in-person meetings. Our workshops over the past year, presented by experts and leaders in the housing movement, have covered topics such as illegal lockouts, accessing rent arrears, understanding major capital improvements. Recognizing the value of our virtual workshops, we've taken an extra step by archiving them on our YouTube channel, making high-quality information accessible to a larger community. In addition to our workshops, we've enhanced our presence on social media, aiming to deliver crucial tenants' rights information where it's needed most, connecting with tenants, ensuring access to high-quality information, and building a strong housing community.